Hey, everybody, welcome back for another session of Notre Dame Daily. Of course, I'm your host, Pete Mulroy, and appreciate your subscriptions and viewership as we continue to trek along here on NDD. And I want to start, as teased by the headline here, the Irish beatdown that took place in round one of the NCAA men's lacrosse tournament. You heard me talk last week how confident I was in this men's program. Not simply because they're the two-time defending national champions. Sure, that plays a role when you're seasoned and you know how to win big-time games in big-time moments. But when you looked at Notre Dame's resume, sure, the 4 losses, but when you really broke it down, 2 of those nationally ranked opponents, 1-goal defeats, including back in March at home against Ohio State. I liked the way they were playing, even with the ACC semifinal loss to a good Syracuse team, the way Notre Dame was handling themselves on both sides of the midfield line, and that really came to fruition in the opening round this weekend against Ohio State. 15-6 the victory, and you know that you're going to be led by lockdown defense and timely scoring. That's been Notre Dame's bread and butter the last few years as they continue to move through these NCAA tournaments with complete efficiency. Now, as they get set for Penn State, that emotional wave continues to go, and I expect this season to continue as well, and I'll continue to talk about that as we get through the rest of the week as we lead up to Saturday's quarterfinal matchup against Penn State. But what Notre Dame did Saturday in the victory over Ohio State is what we've come to know. When you score in bunches and you're playing lockdown defense, you're winning faceoffs like Will Lynch did, grabbing 17 of the 23 that he took in the circle. And then Thomas Riccardelli, who coming into this game, his actual best performance in the eyes of many, including myself, was the March loss to Ohio State. Now we can say that his best performance, yeah, it was against Ohio State, but this time in the NCAA tournament, he was phenomenal. And then what brings me to my next point, what Notre Dame continues to get in the leadership category from the likes of, even beyond these two guys, but specifically led by Jake Taylor and Chris Cavanaugh. They're going to go down, if they already aren't, as 2 of the best players in the history of the Notre Dame lacrosse program. CK, we know, is a finalist for the Tuerton Award. Jake Taylor continues to rack up points. They're both now, Cavanaugh and Taylor, 2nd and 4th, respectively, in Notre Dame scoring history. Picked up hat tricks again this weekend. 3 goals apiece in the 15-6 victory over Ohio State. Cavanaugh's approaching 150 career goals. He should get that, whether it comes this weekend against Penn State or beyond if they're able to win the game, as I think they will. 47 hat tricks combined in the careers of CK and JT. And they've been a big reason why this Notre Dame program has just been on another level the last few years. Yeah, you win the back-to-back NCAA championships, but there's a trajectory beyond that and sustainability that has been built because of athletes like Jake Taylor and Chris Cavanaugh, what they mean to this program and what they mean to the university. You talk about a Notre Dame men's lacrosse program that's been to the NCAA quarterfinals 13 of the past 15 seasons. And the last few years specifically, they're not getting there without Chris Cavanaugh. Sure, Pat Cavanaugh's brother had a legendary career as well, or the play of Jake Taylor. Now, you could put other guys in there. Jordan Faison, the phenomenal 2-star athlete who's going to shine on the gridiron again. And Devin McClain, who had a great career at Notre Dame and continues to do so. This is the Notre Dame system and the Notre Dame formula now when you're able to rely on your bread and butter. You can throw in a guy like Max Busenkill, who continues to play well also. The formula is there. And when you're able to rely not just on talented guys, but the guys that give you the leadership qualities, like a JT and a CK, it resonates. And this program, which has now been to 3 straight quarterfinals in the NCAA tournament, is on a trajectory that should well continue even after its senior class, led by Cavanaugh and Taylor, graduate. And you hope that they move on at the end of this particular lacrosse season with a three-peat. And it is very much on the table for this Notre Dame team, who is going to be a thorn in the side for anyone they play. Next up this upcoming weekend, against Penn State. Just want to switch gears a little bit. We have been talking ad nauseum and for all the right reasons about how well Marcus Freeman has done in the recruiting category for this 2026 class. Well, They just added another one on that defensive line. Tiki Ola, ferocious defensive tackle from the state of Texas, comes in and gives you some meat up front. I think he's one of those guys that you'll watch develop at 6'2", 285, put even more muscle into his frame. But really, from a developmental standpoint and what you're going to get from him on the gridiron, a very good, sound, stout run defender. And that's what Notre Dame's looking for. We know what Notre Dame likes to do on the other side of the football, right? Strong offensive line, run the football, create that efficiency in the passing game, and we'll see how that develops with whoever, be it C.J. Carr or Kenny Minchey's the starting quarterback. But on the other side of things, you've got to be better against the run. And if you had one area last year with Notre Dame's defense, outside of some spots because they were great in the playoff, right? I think you would say stopping the run, kind of like middle of the pack there of those top 50 to 75 teams that you would rank in that category in America last year. Notre Dame was somewhere in the middle there. So you want to say if you had that one area defensively, which was an otherwise great defense coached by Al Washington, the D-line coach, Al Golden, who's now in the same role, defensive coordinator with Cincinnati Bengals, and Marcus Freeman, that you want to get better against the run. Big-time recruits like Ola, who comes in as a 4-star recruit, just adds more to that, and we'll certainly see how he factors in, because I think there's going to be influence immediately. But I do think that this is a kid who joins Notre Dame's defensive line in the class of 26 with edge rushers Ebenezer Iwatati, who we talked about earlier this week, and then Rodney Dunham, who we spoke on last week. These are now 3 big-time recruits in the 26 class who will play up front and or on the edge. So Notre Dame continues to eat in the 2026 recruiting class, and this is another big one with the young man from Texas. And we know that the Irish continue to roll in baseball. This has been a talking point for the past few episodes of NDD, and for all the right reasons, right? You've got a baseball team, folks, that just gets a 3-game sweep to wrap up its home slate in South Bend this past weekend, honoring the seniors. 2 of those games go via the Mercy Run Rule, which, again, exists, but you don't see it all that often. You got to have a 10-run lead at least with 7 innings having passed, and Notre Dame did that twice in a 3-game span. They've won 13 of 15 games overall. And you can look at this Notre Dame schedule. I mean, go back to April 13th. Notre Dame's coming off back-to-back losses to a bottom ACC opponent in Boston College who's got the talent, but it didn't translate to wins. And from that moment, going back even further through March 21st, it was the Notre Dame team, folks, that had dropped 11 of 15. What a difference a month makes when now you look at this team, 13-2 across its last 15, and you wrap up the season on the road after a home date with Eastern Michigan. You go down to Coral Gables for a good Miami team, and look, crazier things have happened, and it's mostly unlikely, you would think, given the opponent. But if Notre Dame is able to pull off a 3-game sweep against Miami, you're in the mix for a top 8 spot in the ACC tournament. Why is that essential? Because 1 through 4 get the bye to the quarterfinals. 5 through 8 get a first-round bye. And that would be a remarkable turnaround for this Notre Dame bunch that continues to feast offensively and get the timely pitching. You go down to Florida and play well against Miami, regardless of even getting a sweep, you're still carrying that momentum into the ACC tournament. So again, we can put it out there. You know how important it is to get hot at the right time, and Notre Dame baseball continues to do that. We'll certainly be tracking this topic of discussion with any more breaking developments coming out of the football recruiting world. And of course, we've got a lacrosse team very much alive for a shot at a three-peat in the NCAA tournament. So that'll put a wrap on today's show. I'll be back with you all tomorrow. You know how to subscribe by now. Follow the Mothership Fan Arch across all socials. I'm Pete Mulroy. Have a great day, folks. And as always, you know it by now, go Irish.